Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. You're here with me, your beautiful host, once again, Zach, with a beautiful guest from Graced by Rain, Elaine. Elaine, how are we doing today on this beautiful Tuesday night?
I'm doing well. It's hard not to do well when your team that you cover is 22-1, 0-1.
Yeah, rub it in some more. Tell the fans, watchers, listeners at home that are joining us today who you are, what you're about, what you're doing, and maybe what you're not doing also.
Okay. Well, my name is Elaine, and I am covering the Grand Rapids Griffins for my own website, Graced by Rain. I have a podcast and I write, so it's kind of on both ways. I used to be, for 9 seasons, the Cleveland Monsters full-time beat reporter. And I touched base on the Griffins from 2021 until the end of last season when I became full-time Griffins. So it's been a wild ride.
Hey, glad to see I'm not the only one that was able to escape Ohio in general. I used to live in Ohio for a couple of years, so glad to see you back here in the beautiful state of Michigan. We're happy to have you on board.
I miss Ohio a little bit, just a little, mostly because of my family all being there. You know, there's 107 of us, 60 of which live in like the Cleveland area. Yeah. So when I first moved here, I was really lonely because this is the first time in 40 years I haven't lived around family. And I was like, oh, this is weird. I don't know how I feel about it, but it's a lot quieter. So.
Well, let's make it a little less quiet for Elaine. And if you guys don't already, go ahead and give her a follow on all of her social media platforms. Go ahead and give her podcast a subscription, a follow, wherever they can find them. You're on YouTube. Are you on any other platforms as well as YouTube?
YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, is that what it's called? And a whole bunch of them. When I set up my podcast, I kind of was like, here. At the time, it was like Anchor, right?
Yep.
And I was just like, here you go. And it just like set it up for me. And I was like, cool.
There you go.
Go with that.
Well, that would all be linked in the description below, whether if you're on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. Yes, you can watch and listen to us on all of those. And this is where I do my spiel, Elaine. Thanks so much for stopping by. We truly do appreciate it. Carlo and Elaine, all of us, we really do appreciate it. If you are watching or listening to us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, hit that notification bell. You can also watch and listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Rate us 5 stars, hit that follow button. And while you're at it, go ahead and follow us on all the major social media platforms as well, like Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, all those places. Let's go ahead and get underway on this episode, Elaine. And on this episode, we are going to be touching on, like you mentioned, the absolute red hot Grand Rapids Griffins, who are currently first place in not only their division, not only in their conference, but within the American Hockey League itself. In the 24 games that they have played, they are 22-1-1 for 45 points, 93 goals for, 44 goals against. Touch on that real quick. It's got to be super exciting to be going to see, watch, and play this red hot Grand Rapids Griffins game. So touch on them real quick. Maybe the coaching staff, some of the players, what you like, and maybe a little bit of what you haven't liked so far in this season.
It's been crazy. 22 games in 22 wins in 24 games is the most to start a season for the AHL ever. So in the 90 years that the AHL has been around, no team in the league has won 22 of their first 24 games. Yeah, this team is hot and historical. Everything they do, it just seems to be like every night we're getting something from Randy Cleves, the one of the PR guys. Like he sends us the little fun facts and records, and it feels like every night we're getting something, which is nice, you know, coming from when I first started covering the team via Zoom and being in those press conferences almost every game via Zoom with Ben Simon when the team was a little tough to watch. You know, it's a different vibe. The energy is so great. It's just a shame that like the city, I mean, I will say the one thing I don't like is the city isn't really talking about it that much, like media and the news. Obviously there's Brandon Cook, Nick, and I, but they're from Hockeytown West, but like that's pretty much it that's there on a nightly basis. It is crazy. Like the team is so hot. I mean, Max Boltman was able to come in, and then a few other people have come in here and there. And I get like Detroit writers, like it's not close enough to just kind of constantly be there during this hot streak. You can't really justify spending that much gas, to get there. But for local wise, I'm like, this is crazy because the team is great. The vibe is great. Coaches are great. And just their attitudes all around are just lovely. I don't know how else to describe it as lovely because they're not boastful about what they're doing. They're very much like the past 5 or 6 games have not been great. There was a few games where I was like, wow, this is it. This is where the breakdown happens. And then they won. Like the one night they won 6-4. And during the first half of that game, I was like, this is bad. This is real bad. I was like, if they continue to play like this, they're just going to go on a lose streak. They put up 6. I'm like, okay, I guess we're fine. But they weren't like, oh yeah, we won. They were like, yeah, we won, but we're so much better than this. Why are we playing like that? So they're having fun, but they're holding themselves accountable, which you don't always see with a team, right? Like they're still celebrating. They're having fun. We hear the music outside the locker room. We hear the cheers. We hear all that. But you get in there and you start talking to them about it. And yeah, they're excited, but they're also like, yeah, but we could do this better. And we can do this. We could maybe win more face-offs or we could have better net front presence. They break down what it is that they think they could do better too, which is, you don't see a lot of teams do that either.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes from, and you could probably attest to this a little bit more than I can, but that probably stems from some of the veteran presence that comes within this Grand Rapids team. I mean, it's no secret that at the beginning of the season, the Detroit Red Wings waived 2 defensemen in Justin Hall, Eric Gustafsson, but those aren't 2 that I really wanted to call on. I wanted to bring up a forward that was actually just called up to the Detroit Red Wings the other day, who will be making his Red Wings debut today against the New York Islanders. We are recording Tuesday night. This episode will be coming out the next day. So if you guys are catching this, then yes, the Grand Rapids Griffins probably will be playing. They play on Wednesday, correct, Elaine?
Yes, they play on Wednesday. They're away. They're in Iowa. Then they play Friday in Iowa, come home, and play the Cleveland Monsters on Sunday.
Wow, look at that. Look at that. But let's touch on John Leonard, who was a recent signing for the Detroit Red Wings. He's 27 years old. He was a former 2018 6th round, 182nd overall draft pick by the San Jose Sharks. The season before coming to Grand Rapids, he actually played with the Charlotte Checkers, who put up a career high in the American Hockey League for 61 points in 72 games, 36 goals, 25 assists. This season with the Grand Rapids Griffins in 20 games, 19 goals, 10 assists for 29 points, well above a point per game player. But like I mentioned, just called up to the Detroit Red Wings. What have you liked out of his game? What can Detroit Red Wings fans expect out of him with his stint being called up?
Well, one of the things I do just want to point out a bit about him, it's not his on ice that I love the most. It's when we're asking him about these plays that he's making and we're asking him about what's working this year compared to the past seasons, because he is playing at a different level than I have seen. I've been a credentialed member of the media for the AHL for 10 seasons now. So I've seen him play multiple times, and this is a different level. This is a different man. And when we ask him about it, he never says anything about himself. He's always talking about like his teammates, especially Dominic Shine and Sheldon Dries. Like, it's amazing. I'm like, this man is on a tear. He's on par to like set up records. And he doesn't take any of it for himself. And I think that's beautiful because not everyone, does that. Now, I think though that helps his relationships, right, with his line mates. And I think that's also what's helping him succeed on the ice, is because then they communicate well. They trust each other. It's not just about him, right? Like, he has passed on shooting before when he had like an open lane because he trusted his teammate to make that play over him. Like, he saw something else that maybe we didn't see, and then that teammate was able to do it. He is just he's a hard worker, but he's skilled at the same time. I love the way he can just like push a guy off the puck and then take it down and score. Like, he's so mindful about everything he does when he's playing too. Like it's rare that you see him make a mistake this season. It's very, very rare. It's rare that you see a turnover. It's rare that you see him, have a misstep, a missed pass, or a bad pass, or a really bad shot that goes wide. Like every move he makes has the potential for success. He's not just erratically firing off shots. He's not erratically passing. He's assessing, he's seeing, and he's able to make magic happen. And he's really good on the penalty kill, like very good. He had a shorthanded breakaway goal the other night, and that was he pushed some guy off the puck and then just took it down in the final seconds of the period. And it was so smooth and so effortless. It was so beautiful. And the goalie didn't even see it coming. Like, he was just like, it happened so fast. And he was kind of like, whoa, this guy's coming. Okay, cool. And he didn't have time to get set. So that's what I think they can expect from him. He's also super, like I said, super team player. Like, he's not gonna just take a shot because he thinks he can maybe make it. He's only gonna take the shot if he can. And if not, he's gonna pass it off, or he's gonna move it around the back of the net, and hope that somebody else can help him make a better play.
Would you say right before his call up, the day before, the Grand Rapids Griffins were playing, and they had to go into shootouts to secure the win, and he was the lone goal scorer in that shootout? On top of that, and basically everything else that you just said, I actually really like that. It sounds like that we're pretty much getting you used a couple words, like he's a little magical out there. It sounds like he's a very humble guy. He's got the hockey IQ that you would want from someone, especially in a call-up that unfortunately had to come at the cost of Jonatan Berggren. Best of luck to you in St. Louis. He was claimed off of waivers today at 2 p.m. Basically in sacrifice to call up someone like John Leonard, who does embody the type of player that Steve Yzerman and Tom McClellan would want to insert on this lineup. And we saw that with Dominic Shine last year coming up with the Detroit Red Wings, and him kind of bringing his own type of hockey that fit within the team that actually seemed to have fit pretty well. And it sounds like John Leonard could be someone like that for the Detroit Red Wings, whether if that's for a brief stint and we see him if injuries happen here or there, because now Patrick Kane's not going to play for the next couple days. We still have Mason Appleton out, but it sounds like that he will be in some key situations with the Detroit Red Wings. You mentioned PK, so maybe we'll see him with some PK opportunities against the New York Islanders today, and then the Utah Mammoth when we play them back-to-back tomorrow on Wednesday as well. Your thoughts on that?
Oh, gosh, back-to-backs in the middle of the week. Oh, those are the worst when you're covering a team. My hope is that he excels and makes it very, very hard for Steve to assign him back, because with the way he's playing, I hate losing him in Grand Rapids.
Of course.
But he has worked so hard and done so much right that I would love to see a good guy who does the right things on and off the ice to just succeed and stay up there and make it, push and really push Steve Yzerman to say, you know what, this isn't working out with this person. We're going to have to either put them on waivers and let someone take them up, like happened with Johnny Berggren. Actually trade them for, I know some of them you're not going to get much for, but there's so much good in the future down in Grand Rapids and in the system. It's worth doing that so John Leonard gets this shot if he can inject what they need into the lineup.
Well, not only that too, I think the Detroit Red Wings, by doing that, I'm sure Jonatan Berggren wasn't too upset about it. Very much a young guy, still needs to get his NHL reps in, being claimed by the St. Louis Blues. He is still currently the leader for the record of rookie scoring for the Grand Rapids Griffins. So you want to give a little farewell message to him while you can, touch on Jonatan Berggren and what maybe he meant to Grand Rapids at that time, because a lot of Red Wings fans had high hopes for him. I think with his whole injury history throughout his career ever since being drafted really hindered him. He looked like he was a really good AHL player. We had high hopes for him coming up into the NHL, but really couldn't dig his skates fully into the Detroit Red Wings roster. So What do St. Louis Blues fans, if they are watching and listening to this, expect from someone like Jonatan Berggren as well? So everything I just mentioned, what do you think, Elaine?
So before I get to that part, I do want to say that I love Ben Simon. I enjoyed interviewing him. You know, I had a whole season and a half or 2 seasons with him via Zoom. He was great. He's from Ohio. Obviously, I have a soft spot for him. I grew up watching him play in high school. Yes. And if Jonatan Berggren had Dan Watson, I think there would have been a different Berggren, a better Berggren. I think he would just Watson knows how to speak to certain players a little bit differently than Ben did. Ben has Ben has an amazing hockey IQ. I've heard people talk about it, and I agree. Like, he sees the things that sometimes trying to get, kids like Berggren to really, hone their skills.
Yeah.
And hold them accountable without taking their personality down. Without kind of not hold them with kid gloves. I'm not saying that. But a guy like Jonatan Berggren, when he was younger, he probably needed more dad energy than coach energy. Does that make, I don't know if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed kind of energy like that. Now, from what I got to see with interviewing him, I never got to do things face to face with him. But his personality is so big and it's so fun. And I feel like, though, that it hasn't been that way lately, especially in Detroit. And I'm hoping that St. Louis can kind of bring that back, where he had, I don't want to say carefree, but like he just seemed to have more passion on the ice. I think he's having fun off the ice. He was having fun off the ice in Detroit, but I didn't see that fun on the ice unless he was actually like scoring a goal. Like when his rookie season in Grand Rapids, he would just be having fun all the time. And I would love to see that smile on his face for 60 minutes during a game. So hopefully they can get that, because that's when he excels. When he's relaxed and he's having fun, that's when he can do more. I still think he needs to not get bigger, but I think he still needs to kind of like take hits a little bit better and maybe lay them.
Frame out a little bit.
But I think St. Louis has the ability to do that, like help him get there with that. So it could be like a really good thing for him to be over there and really good for St. Louis. So I want to like talk him up, but I obviously have to be honest about how he's been playing the past like year, and it hasn't been the best. It hasn't been like bad, but it just hasn't been, it's been like mediocre. I mean, it could be worse, could be better. His consistency. Yeah. He needs to be more consistent. And once he's consistently good, I think you're just going to see this like amazing kid. And I hope that he can do it, because it would be such a shame to see a talent like that who used to have so much passion on the ice not have that anymore. And I want him to have that again, because it looks good in hockey. It looks good for him. Like, it helps him. But as a hockey fan, I mean, I know I'm a writer, but as a fan, even if they're on the other team and I hate the other team, if there is a player who's just playing with passion in life, I can't help but be happy for them. So I hope that's what he can get back to.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny that you brought that up with someone like Jonatan Berggren and Ben Simon. Touching on him, for those that aren't aware, Dan Watson currently is the head coach for the Grand Rapids Griffins. Before him, it was Ben Simon. I put a lot of, how do I want to say this? A negative connotation on Ben Simon, because you look back at the 2018 draft class. Unfortunately, if you do, I apologize for giving you the PTSD. I did tweet about that the other day, and it exploded out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting that, really, because I didn't think it was that big of a secret. I know it's 7-8 years removed from there, but Filip Zadina, Joe Veleno, Jonatan Berggren, your 2 first-round picks, and then your super early second-round pick, all 3 of them not panning out. None of them reached 100 points within their NHL careers. Jonatan Berggren still might have a chance. Joe Veleno, maybe, if the Habs can unlock him, like Jeff Merrick said. Sorry for making that call out, Jeff Merrick.
If anybody could unlock him, that would be great, because we saw glimpses of it when he was here. And it was like, why are you locking the door now? Keep the door wide open, bro. You're doing well.
But that's the common theme that I'm noticing is that, and I said this about Filip Zadina, and it makes sense even with Jonatan Berggren and even thinking about Joe Veleno, is that the Grand Rapids were in a really rough position at one point where they couldn't figure it out. I know that they were going into the transition of, okay, the rebuild, we're getting all these young kids, but you had some promising young talent down there in Filip Zadina, Joe Veleno. Joe Veleno was supposed to be a really high top round, first round pick. We ended up getting him what we thought at the time was a steal, and none of them ended up working out truly for the Detroit Red Wings. And part of me wanted to put that on Ben Simon and the Grand Rapids coaching staff and organization as a whole and how they handled their development. So I'm really glad to see that Dan Watson now has changed what sounds like the culture of the whole entire organization. I think you can give credit to Horcoff as well there.
Yeah, I think I will say that for Ben, and for any coach who had the COVID season in the AHL, it was rough. It was very rough for a lot of teams. There was a lot of anxiety, more so in the AHL than the NHL.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Because there were a lot of guys who were not old, but like they knew their careers were coming to a close. If this was like their last year, or like next year would maybe be their last year. This was their year. This was their shot. And you didn't know what was going to be happening. There were so many unknowns from when the season shut down. And there were even more unknowns even when it opened, because, you know, the Canadian teams didn't start with the rest of the AHL teams. They started later. They didn't even play anyone in the United States that season. And so I will give, you know, that's a tough thing to navigate. So I kind of give him a little leeway on that and the coaching staff, but also there were some bad attitudes during Ben Simon's time. There were some, I don't know, like there were some players who responded very well to me as a reporter, but I did know that they did not respond very well to their coach and did not necessarily respond very well to their teammates either. Felt like maybe they should have more minutes or more time, or even though they weren't playing as well. It was definitely, there were some, it's tough. I will say though, what helps also Dan Watson is having Lashoff as the assistant coach.
Yeah, because during that time, it was Brian Lashoff who was the captain, or at least, I don't think that they had, did they have him with the C at that time? Who was the captain at that time, or did they not have one?
It was his final 3 seasons, 2020 to 2023. So the shortened COVID, so yeah. When the shortened COVID season happened, like when we came back to play, he was captain, and he was captain till the end of his career. The thing is I do know that there were players that didn't respect him. And when people had found that out in management, then those players went away. They were gone. So that was the good thing, is knowing that management had that backup. But I know people want to talk bad about Horcoff, and sometimes I get annoyed because I'm like, I would love to just talk to him, and I never get a chance to talk to him. I was spoiled in Cleveland. I had like Chris Clark, I could have asked him about anything. Bill Zito would just answer any question I'd had. Like, I was so used to seeing them and being like, hey, can I ask you a question? Like off the record, on the record. I don't have that here with Shawn, so I would love to pick his brain about some of the things.
Soon. Not yet. Soon you will. We'll get there.
I hope.
Shawn, if you're watching this, give Elaine access, please. Sir,
yes,
please.
I just want to know what's going on in your brain. I want to know. I want to know what's happening, because I think I know, and I want to like stick up for decisions they're making, but also I'm like, but is that what they're doing?
I just want to know if we're on the same wavelength. Come on.
Yes. Yes, exactly. That's where it's at for me on that. But he's done a good job of helping communication and relationships on the team and with Detroit and Grand Rapids. I think he's done a good job of that.
I would agree. I mean, especially since, we brought in Dan Watson and then we had Derek Lalonde for the Detroit Red Wings. It seemed like that they were on similar paths and wavelengths on how they wanted to implement players, what they wanted them to do, what they didn't want them to do, whether if that was with Detroit or Grand Rapids. it did kind of seem like that there was a systems change, but that's going to happen, right? I'm sure it's the same thing right now with Dan Watson and Tom McClellan for the Detroit Red Wings. But right now, Elaine, I don't know if you saw this, but they have John Leonard up on the second line and replaced for Patrick Kane. So John Leonard, he should be getting a little bit of some looks today. I'm not sure if he's going to be getting all of that ice time, but we're just going to have to wait and find out in that regard. But I would agree with you. I think Dan Watson is bringing a really good culture to Grand Rapids. I think Shawn Horcoff has done a fantastic job. And that actually takes me to the next talking point that I actually wanted to touch on, is that they brought in a decent amount of new names, a lot of these older guys. And when I say old, I mean, they're not like super old, but compared to last year, it seems like we had a lot of young players on this team. Like we got Nate Danielson, we had you guys had Marco Casper for, I think, 1 or 2 games before we ended up calling him up. Amadeus Lombardi, Shai Buyam, William Wallander, Sebastian Cossa, all these guys, but touch on some of the vets that they've brought in. And I know that people already know the names of Dan Watson, Dominic Shine, but who has been, other than John Leonard, a huge bright spot for the Grand Rapids Griffins on terms of the veteran level?
I was going to be like John Leonard. I mean, I guess he didn't bring them in because they got a sign there. They thought they were going to be starting the season up top. I think that Gus has brought so much. Eric Gustafson, he's brought so much to the team, and he's got a really good personality. He's very much like, the whole team in general has a lot of next man up mentality, right? No one thinks that they're better than the other person, which is crazy because I've never seen a team have it where the whole team, there's not one person who thinks that they're better than someone else. But I've been very impressed with Eric Gustafson. It's weird to see him down in the AHL because I think he's too good for the AHL. Hull has a really good attitude. He just isn't consistently good. He makes really good plays, but he also makes really bad plays. But he's really good at fixing his own mistakes. So that's actually a plus. I know people are like, oh, that's so bad, he made the mistake. And I'm like, yes, the mistake is bad. But he then fixed it. Now, if he could just not have to constantly fix his mistakes, that would be good. But there is something to be said about being able to fix your mistakes on the fly during the game and not let those mistakes control the entire game. So, like, honestly, like, I wasn't sure what to expect, mostly because I watched so much Blue Jackets hockey to know what the Monsters were going to have to do or where they would slot up there, that I didn't know a ton about, as much about the Red Wings as maybe I did the Jackets. So I was very unsure of how like people fit in on the teams and stuff, how they'd been playing. So I was unsure what to expect from, guys like Gus and Hull when they came down. Gus has just been wonderful. It was a little rough at the beginning and then it just went in there. And Ian Mitchell, that's another one. Oh my goodness, Ian Mitchell. He's a defender and he's so good. He's been paired with Wallander. I'm going to first say all the nice things about Ian Mitchell. I love the way Ian Mitchell plays. He is an extension of the goaltender all the time. He allows Gylander and, well, the one game it was Tokarski, just for the one game. And Cossa, he allows them to breathe and to relax and be able to track the puck with their body and kind of like create more of a wall on one side of the net because they know that he's going to be there on the other side, preventing the plays from happening as well. Or in case someone is able to pass the puck over, he's there to prevent those things from happening on that side. He will, Gylander and Cossa are big, like they're tall, so they can fill the net too when they need to. And if they have filled the net, he's like off to the side, kind of like swinging his stick on the ground, like not in the air. That's how penalties happen. And making sure that he's like cutting off lanes, right? Like it's a pleasure to watch him play on a defensive side because he's so defensive minded, but he can set up plays, he can get assists, he can create offense, but he's defense first. And I love a good defensive defenseman, and he is a defensive defenseman who can do offense. And I think if he keeps playing like that too, he's another one where I'm going to be like, he shouldn't be down here anymore because he's been a lovely addition. Wallander.
Smooth transition there, Elaine. Let's go ahead and touch on some of the prospects now with the Grand Rapids Griffins, and touching on William Wallander, who actually is the main one I want to touch on. There's a couple of others that we will get into, but Wallander, yeah, he's kind of been bouncing around on the defensive pairings. It looks like he's projecting to have similar production as he did last season, 19 points, 71 games for this season. He had 19 points last season. His plus minus is going to be upticking here. He's projected to have a plus 19 in the plus minus category, but goaltending's been hot. Seems like defense has been hot. The teams in general has been hot. So good and bad on Wallander. What have you liked and not liked out of him so far this season? Because I think there are plenty of Red Wings fans that have a lot of questions if this guy could be a regular in the NHL.
He cannot be a regular in the NHL as of right now. It sounds so mean, but
truth hurts sometimes. Say it how it is.
And here's the thing with me too, is whenever I say something bad about a player, they end up starting to excel. So maybe this will help.
Maybe it's needed. Yeah.
I haven't met him. I don't. I've had interactions with him, so he seems like a nice guy. I mean, no one that's a bad guy is not going to excel on this team at all. Like they wouldn't probably even play him. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's just the vibe of this team is everyone's a good guy on and off the ice.
The type of culture they want to build. Yeah.
Yes. I so badly. I wish that I had time to go to practices more so that I could privately ask Dan Watson, like, what do you guys see in Wallander? Because I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. Maybe I'm looking at something wrong. Maybe I think he's out of place, but it turns out he's actually not, and the play just didn't go the way it was supposed to. I don't get it. And I don't want to ask in the locker room at post game because the guys are there in the locker room sometimes, and I don't want to put him in the position to say something like, yeah, well, we don't get it either. I don't think he would say something like that, but I don't want to put him in that position to say something bad about his player when they're like right there. But I don't, there's nothing that I really like about him as a defender. I'm trying to. I see too many game breaking mistakes. You know, like I see too many times that he is the reason why the goal was scored. He looked to be out of place, or he missed his man, or he created the turnover by accident. He's not the best at chasing down the man either. So I would love to pick their brain on what they see in him, because I'm not seeing it. And I do have to remind myself that this is a developmental league. So he's obviously going to play so that he can develop. But I think that's part of the reason why I know we have the veterans like 2 in, 2 out because of how many. I don't think it's going to be 2 in, 2 out now because John is up. Which I think Wednesday was supposed to be his game to sit anyway. So the timing kind of worked out. But I think that's why the Wallander hasn't had like a specific pairing partner all season. Mm-hmm. He's played with pretty much everyone. So and you see the things that are glaringly not good. It's often I'm at a loss for words when it comes to, because you can see that there's something there, but there needs a lot more. So anyone that thinks he's going to be coming up anytime soon, I would say you're really wishing big dreams.
Well, I think everyone had the inclination, because he's such a big body, he's 6'4", 209 pounds, that he would be, I don't want to say on the same level as someone like Moritz Seider, Simon Edvinsson, not on that type of tier, but the thoughts and idea of Steve Yzerman kind of going out there and saying, yeah, he actually didn't say this, so I'm going to say it for him. We're going to build our defense around the big bodied defenseman type of players, ASP being the exception, maybe even like Albert Johansson being the exception too. William Wallander didn't look that bad in preseason action. And there were a couple times where he was paired up with Moritz Seider, but Moritz Seider is just so freaking good. But based on what you're saying it sounds like that he still has plenty of time, or needs the time to develop and learn from the mistakes that he is making. But it also sounds like, based on what you're saying, that, and maybe this is no fault to his own because he doesn't get to choose who his defensive partner is, But if we can get him to a point where it's not always juggled up and down in the defensive pairing lineup, maybe he can find a little bit more success. Or do you believe that's built by design to get him comfortable with the uncomfortable, and they have enough trust in him to go up against the matchups that they plan for the games that they're going to play into?
So for any player in general, I've learned that the best thing you can do for them in their development is to get them comfortable with the uncomfortable, get them comfortable with the unknown, especially when they're in the AHL. Because if you get so comfortable with your line mates or your pair or your partner, and you get called up and you're not playing with them and you don't play well because you're not used to those situations, you'll never make it in the NHL then. You just never will. So I think it's good for him to not have that consistency, to be honest, because then he can also learn from other people. I am disappointed that he doesn't sit on the crease as much with his big body. I just assumed that would happen and that he would maybe lay more hits, harder hits and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just want him to just lay someone out. Anyone. I mean, even our own teammate at this point, I just want to see that he can do it.
In practice. Yeah, one day in practice.
I just want him to see him like Mo Sider it in like the red and white game and just start laying teammates. He did play. I will say, you're correct. Like Wallander I thought he played well in the preseason. Yeah, and I think that's why maybe I'm a little disappointed with how he's doing now. But also, like, I'm not the coach. I don't play. I've never played. So I would like to know what it is that they're seeing and what it is they're trying to pull out of him. And like I said, maybe I'm just totally misreading the situation, but we talk about it on Press Row with, Brandon's the one that's normally there with me. So Brandon and I talk about it all the time. We're like, Wallander missed his man. He was out of place and look what happened. He has made some like good plays as well, but hopefully they can do something that gets those things out of him. I hate seeing players, not succeed. I'm one of those people. I'm like, I hope everyone has fun and succeeds.
We want everyone to have an all-time high vibes, all times.
Yes. All time. I mean, he seems like I said, he seems like a good guy. So like the vibes are there. He seems like he has good vibes, and that could be it. I've said this to people before, when people are like, oh, we should bring this guy into our team. He's playing well. I'm like, ooh, you need to do a vibe check. Like if your team is doing well or they're like, you definitely want to make sure that the vibes are going to fit with people, because if you bring them into a bad team or you bring them into a medium team and their vibes don't mesh, it's just going to tank things. And I saw that happen in Columbus a few times. But then you see someone come in and just like, they're not great, but they take the locker room. Like in Cleveland, there were some guys who I was like, why is he here? And then I was like, oh, he's a hype man. He's a hype man.
It's the boys going.
Yeah. So I can tell though that he does have that kind of energy, like when he's on the ice too, but I just wish the skill was there. And I think he has it, but I don't know really what it is that they want from them. That's another reason why I would love to like pick Horcoff's brain. Like, what do you guys want from him development wise? What do you want him to be? Do you want him to be an offensive defenseman, or do you want him to be a defensive defenseman with offensive upside like Ian Mitchell? Because I think that's where he would excel the most, is as a more defensive, if they were telling him like, just level this dude, just like sit on the crease, So
that's a great question that I think myself included, Red Wings fans would love to know. So if you ever get that question, or if Dan Watson or Shawn Horcoff, if you guys are watching, please leave it down in the comments. Whatever you guys have heard or watched so far in this episode, go ahead and leave it down in the comments. We would love to reply to you guys and continue this conversation into the comments section. Elaine, thank you for that. Let's move over to a couple other prospects. One that was actually a Detroit Red Wing to start off the season, Michael Brandsegg-Nygard. You guys, it seems like you guys have been having a lot of fun with him, because after being sent down, currently right now he's 5th on the team in points with 5 goals, 9 assists in his 19 games played. What have you liked so far out of Michael Brandsegg-Nygard?
Well, I think if he plays his cards right, he might be able to take that rookie record from Berggren. Well, for one thing, when he scores a goal, a lot of those shots are like as if the puck offended him. Like, he hits them really hard. Like I am terrified when you see it. Like if he's hitting that puck with that, like you see the wind up and you're like, that's going in. And if it's not, someone's gonna get hit and they're probably like, it's not gonna be good for them. There's so much strength behind it. He's also getting sassy. You know, like at the end of the season at the end of last season when Nate Danielson, we were all like, oh, he's got that dog in him. That's where MBN is at right now. He is definitely like, he is strong and he's showing that he's strong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think he's ready quite yet to come up to the NHL, but I think, you know, give him some time this year. I think he'll be up there sooner than later. When I say sooner, I mean like next season or like halfway through next season. I don't know. I like watching him play. He is fun. He doesn't make many mistakes. I mean, like he doesn't make many fundamental mistakes. I will say that. His fundies are pretty sound. Like I just really love that shot. And he can move a play. That's for sure. He can his stick work, when I say stick work, more like crisp passing work. He having that kind of like crisp passing helps you move the play. And I love that he can do that. He's just fun to watch. He's not like he's not Jonatan Berggren rookie season, which was just like a whole other different level of kind of like magic. But this feels sustainable. This feels build uponable. This doesn't feel like a flash in the pan. I feel like what we're watching is the makings of someone like building a house that's going to last forever. And that's what it feels like watching him play. You're like, oh, he's cooking up something. This is slowly building. Like one day he's going to be like super good. And I just need people to pump the brakes when they're like, we should call him up now. I'm like, no. I will say he's laid lots of hits. He has used his body behind the net to lay a hit and draw up a play. I mean, there was one specific, I can't remember what game it was. They were in the offensive zone. He was behind the goaltender. And he just laid this hit on the guy, took the puck, and then passed it off, and that person got a goal from like right near the goal line. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is great. I will say, I've said this to Brandon and Nick multiple times, but I always forget that ASP is not a forward and MBN is not a defenseman. I always have them swap because I feel like that's what their game is when I watch them play.
That's their game.
I wonder what MBN would be like as a defender. And I think about it sometimes when he lays those hits and he creates those plays. I'm like, imagine what that would be like in the defensive zone. Like, what would happen there? Like, what would happen if he was down there just playing like a defender? Like, I just would love to see him in that role because he knows how to use his body to create the plays and break up plays. And that's nice to see.
So let's talk about Sebastian Cossa because this is the one that Detroit Red Wings always want to talk about. If it's not Trey Augustine, then it's Sebastian Cossa. Currently first in the American Hockey League with wins, which is 12. In his 13 games that he started, currently holding a 1.62 goals against average and a 939 save percentage for a record that is 12-1-0. I guess as a whole, talk about Sebastian Cossa, but the goaltending as a whole, because Postava, you just mentioned he is injured. Carter Gylander, he looks really good. What's going on? What are they drinking over there with the goaltenders down in Grand Rapids Griffins that are allowing them just to play so well?
Well, sorry, that just makes me think of, I asked Edwards Trailmax once, like, what happened in between periods for them to come out so hot the second period, and he was like, it's the Gatorades. There must be something in our Gatorades. It's really good Gatorade. It's the Gatorade. That's
Mike's secret stuff, right? Michael's secret stuff.
Exactly. Well, first of all, like Ace, Austin Kaiser down in Toledo. Fantastic goaltender coach, right? Rope Kostanen up here in Grand Rapids. Fantastic goaltending coach. And they both, so like Ace and Carter have a really good relationship, and Ace and Cossa had one as well. And so then Cossa comes up and he's with Rope, and he and Rope have like a really good relationship together. Like it's really good. I don't know. I haven't really seen many goaltender relationships like that. I mean, goalie coach goaltender relationships like that. The closest one I ever saw like that was Manny and Elvis and Brad Thiessen and Matisse. Like those were amazing, amazing relationships. And that's why they excelled for a little. That's why Matisse excelled. And that's why like Elvis excelled until 2021. And after that, it kind of dropped off. Which that's a whole other conversation. But I'm seeing that here with Rope and Cossa, and I'm seeing it also with like him with Carter and with Postava. Like it just seems to be working, and he can get with them. And I love the few practices that I've been to watching him as a coach. It seems like a very nice relationship. And when you have those relationships, it makes it easier. But I think also their relationship with the defense, right? Like they trust the defense. The defense trusts them. And I think that's also helping. But I just think these guys are also just really good goaltenders. Like they see the game. They know how to adjust on the fly. They track with their eyes more than their body. I mean, sometimes you have to track with your body, but they track with their eyes. And so you can't always, when you're the opponent, you don't know what they're going to do because there's not like a body tick as much. That's like, oh, he's following me and he's not going to be able to get over. Sometimes they're just standing there in the crease and like staring, just staring with their eyes. Like you have to see their eyes to know what's happening. And sometimes they decide that they're going to, you know, go toe to toe with someone. You know, they also aren't afraid to get in that mix. Like, I think that I'm just waiting for the day that Cossa just like punches someone.
He seems like the guy who would do that too, because he says he thrives under pressure. And what do you do under pressure? You just punch someone in the face.
Right. I will say he does do better when people are like attacking the net. He just plays a much more solid game when they're like coming at the net as more opposed chaos. To when they're shooting long. Yeah, he thrives in the chaos. That is correct. He does so well in the chaos, which I'm like, man, I'm watching the game and my heart's like, ugh. And he's just like, yeah. I'm just going to stop this. I'm going to knock this one away. He's having the time of his life.
He definitely reminds me of, you ever seen, you're just kind of doom scrolling on any social media, whether that's Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and you come across a video of the kid who's mic'd up and he's the goalie, and that's exactly what he does. He just starts singing random songs, you can hear him, and he's doing his own little dance in the crease, like, I am so bored, but I'm ready for anything. That's what I picture Sebastian Cossa's like currently.
I think they're all like that. All three of them, probably. To be honest. I'm not kidding. I think that these are the most... So goaltenders tend to put a lot of pressure on themselves. They tend to get too serious. I mean, a lot of them are weird. Goaltenders are weird. I was a catcher in softball. It's the same vibe. So I pick up my people when I see it. But they all seem to have like a very good mental state as goaltenders, right? Like if someone scores on them, even if they want it back, I don't think I've seen yet this season any one of them be upset, like to the point where you're like, oh, they've gotten under their skin. They're so good at just being like, okay, well, that sucked, but I think we could do better. And they don't blame their teammates. You can see goaltenders sometimes blame their defense or blame their forwards, not verbally, but you can see it in their body, right? Like after something happens and say like somebody stick taps them, like, it's okay, buddy. And they kind of like, you know what I mean? Like they get all like they want to
flustered a little bit. Yeah.
And I don't see that from them. The only time I see that from them is when the other team is up in their business. Like when Cole Lind from Texas would come and had just gotten back from injury, and he kept running the crease after the whistle was blown. And finally, I can't remember, I think it was Trailmax, or I can't remember who it was. It was Trailmax dropped him on the ground, and Cossa stood over him. Like I want to know what he said, because I think he said something.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that, I think that's the perfect place to put your anger, right? Like, not against your team, but against the other team, even if maybe your team fell down on it, but redirect it to the enemy. I don't know what it is. Postava is, from my understanding, he's off of injury. He's been practicing. I think maybe he's not ready so much to play, or Carter came in and he's just gotten better and better. So I don't.
Well, and why rush them, right? It's not like they're in a dire need situation, like you mentioned, with MBN being the next man up because John Leonard got called up, right? So the Grand Rapids Griffins are still very much in a good position. I agree.
Yes. And for Cossa, I know a lot of people are like, call him up right now. Call him up. We need him up here. He is coming back from an injury. And there was one game where I was like, they won. Don't know how. I was like, when was it? It was a recent game. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It was home. And I was like, this is very un-Cossa like. Like he struggled. He would be like out of place, or he wasn't with it, and no one was with it. The entire team was not with it. But those are the things I see where, like, if he's making a big save, when people are like, oh, he did this like sprawling save and it was so beautiful. Yeah, he was out of place. He had to do that. It wasn't like, I'm going to just do this. It was, shit, I'm bad. Let me get back into position. But is he maybe a better alternative than what's up there? Yes. But until the defense is showing that they're a little bit stronger, a little bit more consistently better, I don't think bringing Cossa up is a good idea, because he can't save the team. Like, if the defense is not going to defense, then no goaltender, it doesn't matter who, is going to be able to help.
He's not just going to turn into prime Dominik Hasek that we all want him to. And Carlo and I have said that ad nauseum, that if the defense isn't doing well, Cossa isn't, as much as we want him to be our savior, you can't ask that from a young goaltender. But I think it probably doesn't help that we're seeing Jesper Wallstedt doing really good, Askarov playing decently well for the San Jose Sharks. So I think it's, some fans aren't saying it because they truly believe that Cossa is ready and that he should be called up. I think it's more so some fans seeing these other goaltenders with these other teams getting more opportunities than Cossa currently is getting. So it's a bit of FOMO, I would say, Elaine.
I would say yes, but I would say that their defenses are a little bit more consistent and better than what is happening at Detroit. And that's probably why they're maybe doing a little bit better. I think Wallstedt is fine. I think Cossa is better. That's just my opinion. And I know he's up top and people are like, he's up top.
By Elaine. He's better. Mic drop. Here to here.
Like, I don't care. I don't care what people think of me for saying that. Listen, I'm very unbiased. Like, I did not grow up a Red Wings fan. I grew up a Hawks fan, and then I moved to Ohio, and I was a Thrashers fan and a Blue Jackets fan. So like, when we moved to Ohio and there was no NHL hockey, they asked me like, oh, well, Pittsburgh's nearby. I was like, no. My mom, the diehard Wings fan, was like, she's going to be a Wings fan. And I was like, no. So for me, it's not me being like a homer, right? Like, I'm not saying everyone's a homer, but like, when I say Cossa is better than Jesper Wallstedt, it's because I also watched that man play against the Monsters for years as well, Wallstedt. So that's where my opinion's coming from.
I was going to say, amongst the Red Wings fan base, you probably have probably one of the highest unbiased opinions within this organization of the Detroit Red Wings, and then for any other organization as well, which is always good to have. And you got to have that position, right? It's easy for me to say, as you can tell, on my background, are you a big Red Wings fan, Zach? Why, yes, I am. So it's hard for me sometimes to kind of get out of my fandom, so to say, right? And so being people will call it hypercritical. Like, some people have told us we're not critical enough on Steve Yzerman. Well, I've done that plenty of times, so go back and watch those episodes. But even with your prospects and everything, that's why we like to have our beautiful special guests on, like you and whoever else that we bring on, to help us separate ourselves from that fandom and be a little more unbiased with what we currently have and create a more realistic picture of what to expect within our organization for years to come, because that's what we're all waiting for, right? Is to be good again.
Yes. So two things. One, I want to remind people something that I learned when I was working in youth hockey is that many of the coaches told me the best team is the team without a goaltender. And that the goaltender is your last line of defense. Your second line of defense is defense, and your first line of defense are your forwards. In the sense of like, if your forwards are doing what they need to do in the O zone, nothing else really matters. If they're able to like do all that, it doesn't matter as much. You can have, that's where like the two-way guys come in with the forwards. But a team without a goaltender is usually the best team. Like if they're winning games and they have a mid goaltender, it's because everything else is clicking. So people automatically want to say that everything is the goaltender, but really it's, unless they're letting in softies, it's not the goaltenders. And now Steve Yzerman.
Oh, she's about to personally attack John Gibson right now. I can feel it.
Not in John Gibson, but he's doing well now, so I'm just gonna let it go.
Ignore it until it comes back and haunts us even more.
Right. But Steve Yzerman, I obviously was not the Hawks fan. I mean, the Wings fan. My mom was, but like, I have always been an Yzerman fan, especially as a GM. And here's the thing is, first of all, if rumors are coming out, unless they're coming straight from Steve's mouth, I don't believe like anything, right? Because he's so tight about what's out there. He doesn't care if you have an article to write. He doesn't care. He doesn't care what. Yeah, he did. And I love it because he's like, I'm just doing my job. Okay. And to have a leg up, not everyone needs to know everything. And I respect that about him.
We love sassy Steve around here.
I love sassy. I love sassy in general. I mean, my first coach with the Cleveland Monsters was John Madden. Okay. Like it was, as the person who grew up a Hawks fan, it was amazing because he was sassy. I loved it. But the other thing about Steve that people forget is like, he plays the long game. Okay. He's not looking for, I use this metaphor and someone was like, you're ridiculous. Steve Yzerman is looking for like a relationship. He's trying to pave the foundation of like a really good marriage that's going to last for 50 years. While fans are getting, I know it's been like a while since there was a lot of success, but this is the best the team has been doing right now. So Steve Yzerman, he's looking for a long-term marriage, you know, that is fruitful, has many kids, which would be Stanley Cups. A lot of fans right now are looking for a one-night stand or like a very short-term relationship because they want to get that cup. They want to get in the playoffs. Steve Yzerman wants to get in the playoffs for like the next 15 years, right? He wants to build the dynasty again. I know fans are impatient, but stick with the process with Steve because look at Tampa, okay? People thought the same thing there. They're like, what is he doing? And then he left and someone else got to take credit for the fruits of his labor. Mm-hmm. And then they could only sustain it for so long. Steve, if you let him do it, if you let him cook, if you let him build, if you just have that patience, he's going to create something beautiful.
That correlation, that is one hell of a correlation. I never would have thought in a million years, but it definitely didn't go in the direction that I thought you were going to label it as. I didn't think of it as like the fans being the one night stand. I was going to say the fans are, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, ladies, but it's like the ladies who have been in the same relationship with the same dude for going on now 7, 8+ years and still no ring. That's kind of what I was thinking, that the fans are in the correlation side of this all, that Steve Yzerman wants to get the perfect marriage going to make it last a long time, just hasn't proposed yet. And the fans are right here. We're just like, please, sir, I want a ring. I want a Lord Stanley Cup, please. We're just spoiled. We were so used to greatness for so long. So from a fan perspective, I agree with you, Elaine. I would like to say majority of Detroit Red Wings fan base probably would agree with you too, that Steve is doing this for the betterment of the organization for the long term. He's been with us for, minus his time with Tampa, even as a player, it's been 40 years or something like that. It's been forever, it seems like, right? So I don't think there's really too much wrong, or at least purposeful intent to do any wrong to this organization. Obviously, mistakes happen. We just brought up the 2018 draft not that long ago in this episode. Kenny Highland, you sweet, beautiful man. That's what I'm going to say about him. But Elaine, earlier you brought up Postava. That was the final piece that I wanted to wrap up this episode with you. Thank you once again for joining us on this episode. Let's talk about injuries a little bit. You don't have to go too in depth on them, but if you have any insight on them, that would be great. So you mentioned Postava. He's back to practicing. It sounds like at least doing some warm-ups, some type of movement within the team. Some of these players, what's the deal with Carter Mazur, Amadeus Lombardi, Shai William? When do we expect them? Do we have a timeline? Are some of them possibly not coming back? I mean, we looked at this team last season. It was mainly young players. Now it's, like I mentioned earlier, it's a lot of these older guys now.
Yeah. Well, first I want to explain how things work in the AHL when it comes to injuries. Okay.
Sure.
And how they're announced.
Yep.
And I learned this from the Monsters, from like how all of that worked when we were there. Cause I'm like, why aren't you letting people know? You're not even letting them know if it's day to day or if it's week to week or whatever that is. And it was explained to me that if they're under an NHL contract, the AHL team cannot announce it. It's up to the NHL team to give them either permission or announce it themselves. You will see, like, sometimes the teams will just like tell the NHL reporter what's going on. And then of course AHL reporters are like, hey now, like, what are we doing here? But they do it. They do that. I mean, I wish Dan Watson would pull a John Madden and be like, no, I'm not allowed to tell you. And then speak directly into my microphone and be like, he has a concussion. He's out for 2 to 5 weeks. Like, I just wish that he would pull that. And I'm not quite sure why they don't do it, because they announced him in the NHL, right? So I don't know why the NHL teams wouldn't at least give like a timetable. I know maybe with like trades, wanting to use AHL players are more likely to be used as trade bait. So if you are trying to make something happen and a team like maybe knows that it's worse than, like, if they know more, then maybe the trade wouldn't happen eventually, or maybe it like gives an edge to the other team. I honestly don't know why the NHL doesn't let the AHL teams like say, hey, by the way, this guy is injured. The Jackets over the years have gotten a little bit more lenient about it. Towards the end of my time in Cleveland, I got to hear a little bit more like, oh yeah, they're actually like day to day, they'll be back in a week or so. We've heard day to day about some of the guys, and we're like week to week, and we're like, well, it's been a few weeks. We don't, and I know absolutely nothing about Shai William. Like, I don't know why he's not back. I saw him one time in the hallway, but I don't know when the other ones are coming back. I don't know what their injuries are. Like, it's like we stopped asking after post game if maybe like, hey, do you have an injury update? Because Dan Watson isn't telling us. And I actually was at practice the one time, and he was like, he's like, oh, you're not going to ask me about injuries? I was like, you're not going to tell me anything. I'm going to ask you. Like,
at least he's got jokes on him, so he knows.
Oh, he does. So unfortunately, there's no updates that I could give. I would think maybe Ammo's coming back maybe sooner than later from what like what we hear on the pregame stuff from Bob Kaiser, but I don't know. I mean, I'm so in the dark. And if I was there for practices more, I'd probably be able to figure something out. But yeah.
So basically what I gathered from all this so far is that, because I agree with you, it seems like Bob Kaiser is the one who gets the news before everyone pre-puck drop. So what you're saying is that we just need to harass Bob a little bit to tell us what the injury updates are.
He won't let it go. He won't let it go. He's a tight-lipped one, because the same thing applies to him. Like, if they don't give permission to say certain things, he's not going to do it. He's been around for so long, it's not worth it's not worth it. Now for Carter Mazur, I will say I think it's going to be a while, because I was at practice with the boys from Hockeytown West when we saw it happen. It just didn't look good. The vibe didn't feel right. Like, it sounds stupid to say the vibe was off, so I think he's going to be out. But our immediate reaction was like, That's not good. When are we going to see him again? So I'm not sure how long that will be. I think maybe before the end of the season, but I honestly don't know. And I wish I had more to know. But I mean, I think we all don't care as much too, because the team is doing just, it sounds so mean to say, teams are doing just fine without them. I do wonder how much even better they might be when they get back. Yeah.
Right.
But Booyam, that one's perplexing to me. I could surmise and I could guess what maybe is wrong with him and how long he would be back, just based on some stuff in preseason, like, so, seeing him go down in a game and then he was just off the next game. So I could guess on that, but I don't want to start any I'm new here. I don't want to start any rumors. Give me a year and then I'll help start the rumors.
We'll save you from doing anything like that. Yeah, it's unfortunate that the Grand Rapids Griffins or the Detroit Red Wings don't really follow up too much with these injuries. I mean, it makes sense, but also from a fan perspective, it doesn't make sense. I hate it. They need to let us know a little bit more, just that way we know what the frick is going on. But I agree with you. It sucks to say it like this, but with them being out, Grand Rapids is really not missing out on too much. Obviously, they'd probably be that much better. Maybe we wouldn't have that one loss tacked on to their record, but hopefully eventually everyone comes back. That sounds like, at least for some of them, like Amadeus Lombardi, you mentioned, Postava. I think Red Wings fans are more in tune with his recovery more than anyone else because of how much they want Sebastian Cossa to come up. So that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
As soon as Postava gets healthy, then you got to bring up Sebastian Cossa. I'm 50-50 on that. Ask me again in 2 months when it's closer to trade deadline day. We'll see.
What happens with Cam Talbot, though? Like,
ship him to the Edmonton Oilers for a second round pick or something, just
right,
like they did
what
for
do you
Jari.
do? Yeah, just like, but I don't know if a team would take him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if people are in need of goaltending, but like, not his goaltending. That sounded so mean.
You just never know. Hey, I mean, if John Gibson can turn it around, all Cam Talbot needs is a good stretch. But you look at the National Hockey League in general, I mean, goaltending is far few in between as well. So it's either you're doing really well in the NHL right now, or you're kind of just floating around slightly above 900 or just underneath it. So it's definitely a goal scoring league right now within the NHL. It's not super defensive minded or goaltending minded, how like it was in the early to late thousands and even the early 10s. So the NHL certainly has shifted its mantra in terms of it's a goal scorers league now, and it's very high octane, high offense. If you're not going to be able to play good defense, then you're going to let in some softies. John Gibson, glove side Johnny, famously coined by Carlo Mario.
Yep. I think also the issue, though, is we're seeing a rise of goaltenders at a young age. Like, we're seeing more and more goaltenders
I noticed
coming in, and that's why, like, you see it at the youth leagues. Like, before they would be like telling kids like, oh, can you just give out a goaltender position? Could you just like give it a shot? And now you're seeing like these young kids coming in, they want to play goaltender. I'm like, man, those parents must not want to have money ever again. But they want to be a goaltender, and so then those guys are coming up through the ranks through college and through juniors. That's why now I cringe when people are like, we should give this older goaltender like a really long contract, right? And I'm like, any goaltender, anyone in general, I don't like the long contracts for many reasons. But right now, it used to be something you had to do with the goaltenders because there weren't a lot to choose from. And now you're seeing more and more, and even from like overseas. There's even like a surge of goaltenders coming up and from different countries, and not just your typical countries either. Great, of course, my brain is like, but not just from your typical countries. And it's going to make it harder. And so it's like, what do you do with a guy like Cam Talbot? Do you try to develop him, get him back to what he used to be? Or do you just like cut and run with him and have a young guy? Obviously, Stevie Yzerman was like, I got to collect all the goalies, so he's fine.
Yeah,
but where does Cam Talbot go? Where does he go? Who does he go to?
Goaltending depth chart surely is in a very fine position in the Detroit Red Wings organization as a whole, Elaine.
Yes, it is. And I will say, so speaking of goaltenders, I will say I am concerned that if Trey Augustine doesn't see a path to the NHL, that he won't sign. I think that I'm curious, and this is another reason why I want to like pick the brain of Shawn Horcoff, is with Red Savage as an example. I think maybe he was going to start in the ECHL, right? But then with all the injuries and some of the call-ups, he would have been playing in the AHL. I wonder if maybe they're not showing them a path. Like there's a true path to get you to the NHL. You're just going to have to be patient and start a little bit lower. Because I'm afraid that that's what's going to happen with Trey Augustine too. Like they're going to say, we're so stacked right now. We're going to start you in the ECHL. And they're going to take that and say, well, I'm better than the ECHL, and not look at the full picture and say, you know, Sebastian Cossa maybe could move up to the NHL. This is where moving Cossa up to the NHL helps them. Two, is showing that there's a true path, because he went ECHL, AHL, then would have been the NHL. And it shows the guys in the system there is a true path to get to your goal. If they don't show him either saying it verbally and like mapping it out for him, or showing him by moving Cossa up eventually this year, he is not going to see a path. And I wouldn't blame him if he didn't sign or didn't want to play. It would kind of stink, but also the goaltenders are really good. It's hard to be like, I know he's a college player. I know he's good, but he's a college player. And there is a difference between the college level and the AHL. And so we still have to take that with a grain of salt. How well he's doing in college is not necessarily indicative of how well he's going to do in the AHL. Mm-hmm. So I have him at the bottom of my goaltender depth chart, but that's how I always do it with college kids compared to the AHL kids. Until you play a professional game, I don't put anyone in college really above an AHL person, especially if they're doing really well. So just for people listening, take that with what you will when I'm saying what I'm saying.
No, and that's fair. I mean, Michael Devellino, we had him on recently too, and he had the same worries with Trey Augustine that if the Red Wings don't create, I guess, call it a clear path for him to foresee himself eventually making it onto the Detroit Red Wings roster as a NHL player, then he might have to take his talents somewhere else. So we're just going to have to wait and see on that. Who knows really what the future holds for the Detroit Red Wings goaltending core. But Elaine, I think this is a good stopping point for us. We touched on a lot on the Grand Rapids Griffins, touching on Detroit Red Wings as a whole as well, a little bit there. Thank you so much for jumping on and talking shop with me about the Grand Rapids Griffins. I don't get to catch them as much as I would like to, and I probably should more often because of how good that they're playing this season. I always love seeing that our affiliate teams are playing well. Even the Toledo Walleye had the opportunity to go to a couple games there as well. But this is now where you can say your final thoughts on maybe what we just mentioned, what you'd like to see moving forward for the Grand Rapids Griffins, and tell the boys and girls at home watching and listening once again who you are, where they can find you, and what you're doing upcoming, and maybe what you're not doing as well.
So I would love to see the Griffins start playing another full 60 minutes. They started at the beginning of the season that way, but they've had some slow starts recently. But as everybody says in post game, I swear every single person has said this at least once this season, good teams find a way to win. So I'm not going to be too hard on them, but eventually good things have to come to an end. So I'm just riding the wave and enjoying this historical run and thanking God that I moved to Grand Rapids and I'm covering this team full time, because I did not foresee it being this amazing. I jokingly said it was going to be good, but I didn't realize it was going to be this good. Let's see. You can find me on all the socials.
All of them.
All of them. Well, I don't know. There's some I'm probably not on, but there's so many. I'm a Rain Dancer is probably the easiest way to find me on social media, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. On Twitter, it's Graced by Rain Pod. On Instagram, it's just Graced by Rain. I put a lot of stuff up there. I have my own website where I write about the games, and I have some features coming up about like Tyler Engel and Dominic Shine, and also the legends that they just honored with the Grand Rapids Griffins. That's at gracedbyrain.com. And then I also have my own podcast called Graced by Rain. This season, it's more sports oriented. It's in my 6th season, and I typically didn't talk about sports, but now I do. And every Monday I drop an episode called The Beauty of the Grand Rapids Griffins, where I talk about 1 or 2 things that I thought was really beautiful from the week before, whether it be the fans or coaching or a play or a quote or anything like that. It just gives a different light about what the team, sheds a different light about the team. I think the AHL is beautiful. I think the minors are beautiful. I think it's more passionate down here at this level. And I want to show people, pull back the curtain a bit on why the Grand Rapids Griffins are so beautiful this season, and not just because they're 22-1, 0-1. So I think those are my favorite episodes. It's like my favorite thing I do. So that's where you can find me, and that's what I'm doing.
I love it, Elaine. Yeah, honestly, the AHL could use more people like you too, because it's with hockey, you watch it on TV, you don't really get to see the players' faces too often. It's some people who aren't that much into hockey, they say it's very tough to follow the puck. So you really don't get to learn the personalities of the players, and you doing something like that showcases to the fans of the Grand Rapids Griffins, Detroit Red Wings, or just anyone who wants to get involved in hockey, showcasing that these are just regular human beings just like us, and showcasing, you know, what they bring off the ice, not only just on the ice, is something I think the AHL should get more people like you to utilize and boost up the ratings for sure, because you're doing a fantastic job, and it's your fault, the reason why the Grand Rapids Griffins are doing so well this season, Elaine. I'll say that.
Yes.
And those are my final thoughts, not yours, Elaine. Thank you so much for joining me once again on this brand new episode. And to all those that joined us on this brand new episode, thank you for stopping by. If you are returning, if you are brand new, thank you for stopping by as well. I truly do appreciate it. Go ahead and give a subscribe over to Elaine. Give her a follow on all of her platforms as well as ours. If you're on YouTube, give us a subscription, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, hit that notification bell that lets you know when these brand new episodes come out. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can watch and listen on those. Find us on all the major social media platforms as well. Give us a follow on there. And until next time, we'll see y'all on the next one. See ya. Say it, Elaine. We love them. Goodbye. Bye.